replacements in December. This category primarily includes instances where existing employees departed from their roles for reasons such as death, resignation, or transfer to other departments. To ensure continuity and efficiency in operations, spending entities can replace these departing employees with candidates possessing the requisite skills and expertise at the same salary as the departing employees. The direct replacement processes were executed through the official CSA email chain and personnel action notices as required by law. 16 employees were processed through reinstatement. Reinstatement typically involves returning employees from serving a suspension for abandonment, political leave, and issues of insubordination and attendance. After being blocked by the CSA, the concerned spending entity will request that the offending employee be reinstated and removed from block after the punishment period expires. This action is directly communicated to the CSA through a formal communication addressed to the Director General. In December 2023, 15 new hires were made to violate former President George Weah's presidential directive of December 18, 2023. The new hires were primarily from the Liberia Land Authority and the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. The new hires were also conducted through emails requested by the Land Authority and the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Consequently, the 8 employees from the Land Authority are blocked and removed from the payroll. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning had already approved its payroll, meaning the additional 7 employees from the ministry will be blocked as of April 24th and subsequently removed from the payroll. This identification process of new hires in December at various spending entities continues. The next time when we are here, we give you updates on additional information as the number of people blocked in violation of the presidential directive. The CSA is mandated to monitor all civil servants' performance. In this regard, attendance is critical to ensure the evaluation of performance. Accordingly, the Civil Service Standing Orders, Sections 5.1.2, all agency heads shall maintain attendance records and submit a monthly report to the CSA on the approved revised attendance report form. The attendance report form shall reach the CSA on or before the 10th day of the month following the period covered by the report. This form can be obtained in soft copy by your Human Resource Directors from Research, Strategic Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Division at CSA. However, many spending entities are either not reporting timely or not reporting at all. In this regard, the CSA will, as of April 2024, hold HRs accountable for not submitting attendance reports in accordance with the law. The CSA has also blocked and removed 41 individuals representing ghosts who were illegally on the Liberia Land Authority payroll, and that has been effected, as I indicated. So those ghost names are no longer on the payroll and will not reappear on the payroll. We have meticulously drafted comprehensive policy guidelines to transform the selection, employment, and management of independent consultants and consultancy firms across the government. This policy, the Cabinet will review and adapt, after which it will be formally launched by His Excellency President Joseph Yuma Boakai Sr., marking a significant departure from the immediate past corrupt consultancy practices. The government of Liberia, led by His Excellency President Joseph Yuma Boakai Sr., is steadfast in its commitment to transparency, accountability, and good governance in public finance management. Therefore, the CSA is fully committed and dedicated to attaining the arrest agenda and will take all necessary steps in accordance with the law to reform and professionalize the public service for improved performance and productivity. Before I take my seat, I'd like to do this. This is the draft copy of the consultancy policy that has been crafted. This policy is going to be reviewed by the Cabinet. When approved, it's going to be launched by the President, and no consultancy, whether for independent consultants or consulting firms, will be carried out without applying the guidelines in this policy. At the CSA, we will go strictly by the books. We will follow the laws. We will do exactly what the law says. This is the pension laws, and we will follow this to the letter. This is the act creating the Civil Service Agency. We will follow the laws in this act. We have job descriptions for each spending entity, Mr. Minister, just to let you know. So this is the job description for the Ministry of Labor. We have this for other spending entities. However, there are some spending entities, when they join the civil service, we were performing function and mandate reviews, which has not been completed. So we are going to work with the Governance Commission to complete that process and produce these job descriptions for the remaining spending entities, so that every employment will be done in keeping with these descriptions. To be hired, your background must be consistent with these requirements. We have our Human Resources Policy Manual. We will follow this to the letter. All human resource directors from spending entities will have to conduct themselves in keeping with these guidelines. Anything to the contrary will not be accepted. We have the Civil Service Standing Orders of 2012. This is the guiding principle for me, my deputies, and the entire CSA. All of our actions we take are consistent with these orders, and we are following them to the letter. We have the Performance Management Policy. We will hold spending entities accountable to ensure that their employees perform consistent with the job requirements. We have instruments that we will use to appraise performances at the civil service level. So we will apply these rules to the latter. Finally, Mr. Minister, distinguished colleagues, and our precious media, I want to say that this is not the time for politics. This is the time for rebuilding. This is the time for national development, and everyone's role is required. The Civil Service Agency will do everything possible to ensure that we streamline our workforce, to make it efficient, to make it effective, so that we can deliver per the mandate of the Liberian people as a government. That's what we committed to. We don't know any political party, no political sentiments, no UP, no ALP, no CDC. What we see is a group of Liberians seeking to have jobs for them to contribute to the rebuilding of our country. But we have a responsibility as an agency to make sure that we hire the right people so that the right services can be provided efficiently and effectively. That is what we have been mandated by His Excellency to do, and we shall do it based on his mandate and based on the laws governing the civil service. On that note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, I thank you so much for the opportunity, and I can take questions.
Good afternoon, everybody. I came along with, my name is Uncle B.S. Dolly, Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency. Came along with my Deputy Director of Operations, Louis Morris, my Deputy Director for Administration, Otto Dalmonsega, Director for Legal, Eric Zia Dimne, Director for Training, Yemon Pesi Jalite, and the rest of them. The Honorable Jerolimi Matthew Pia, Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, other officials of government, special guests present, member of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Jeremiah Kpankun, and I, along with other dignitaries, traveled to Chilltown, Riverside, where a total of 15 persons got entrapped and 11 persons died in a pit located in an abandoned gold mine, and a few others hospitalized as a result of soil that got loose and collapsed after being undermined by illicit gold miners. The Vice President and entourage toward the site to get a first hand of the status of the mine and to see what measures central government can take to avoid the reoccurrence of such situation. He also spoke to families of the affected persons and members of the responding agencies on the ground, including the Ministry of Lands, Mines and Energy, Health, Justice, and the Armed Forces of Liberia, the Joint Security, the Liberia National Red Cross, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Riverside County Legislative Caucus, and the county local government authorities. As Incident Commander, I want to use this occasion to appreciate all responding agencies and volunteers who took their time to put the situation under control. Your work will always be remembered because it was intended to save lives. Members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Numa, the Honorable Vice President presented several humanitarian items and cash to affected families, which include 200,000 Liberian dollars, 10 bags of rice, and a mattress to each family whose loved one has been hospitalized as a result of the incident. And Liberian dollar 100,000, 10 bags of rice, a mattress to each family whose loved one died during the disaster. The Honorable Vice President also presented 66 bags of rice and LD $50,000 to volunteers who helped in the response process. He used the occasion to express his empathy with the affected families. Secondly, 5 counties, Grand Bassa, Bon, Mangili, Mosoralo, Nima, were struck early yesterday morning by a windstorm from the west wind moving at a speed of 36 to 40 meters per hour, leaving over 800 homes seriously affected and damaging several critical infrastructures, including the offices of the Morovia Consolidated School System, the MCSS, the African Methodist Episcopal Zion University, the AMEZU. Our data officers are still on the field since yesterday, verifying the numbers, and will report to you at the soonest possible time. Rural communities. People are advised to properly strengthen their roof of homes, public buildings. The rural communities are also advised to avoid deforestation. By the first week of the rainy season, the wind is projected to move between 45 to 47 meters per hour. The National Disaster Management Agency wants to remind all of its early warning again that based on the World Bank Group Climate Risk Profile 2024 for Liberia, predicting that rainfall patterns this year will increase, accompanied by rainstorm and a 1 meter sea level rise, which are expected to pose future health-related hazard of floods, impact, disease outbreak, and critical infrastructure for water, sanitation, hygiene, and may also lead to human injuries. The loss of life and livelihood. The public is advised to be on the alert again. Vulnerable communities along the coast of Liberia are advised to also be on the alert for coastal erosion as a result of the rising sea level. Based on these scientific predictions, it is predicted that over 150,000 Liberians are expected to fall prey to flood, windstorm, and coastal erosion this year alone, with over 60% getting affected in the coastal counties, and the remaining from the eastern, northern, and western regions. We earlier on, during our last press briefing, indicated to you that the predation is a reality, it is not fake. That the windstorm will be moving from east to west, from Cape Palma to Cape Mount. You can see by evidence that indeed the windstorm have started and the sea erosion will be followed later. And so the alert is not just a bluff. It's a predation based on scientific analysis. And those analyses, we have to pay heed to them, and so that we can save life. I want to let you know that the National Disaster Management Agency is in its preparedness when the hazard occur, be it human, natural, or other hazard. We are prepared, and we will be prepared. We want to thank the central government for giving us initial support in galvanizing resources that move us to Riverside with the Vice President yesterday. We will rest temporarily.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank Honorable Josiah Douglas, the Director General of the Civil Service Agency, for the presentation. Honorable Ansu Dole, the Executive Director for the National Disaster Management Agency, who also made a splendid presentation. At this juncture, I'd like for you to get in the queue. Please follow the instruction. One question per presenter. Introduce yourself and ask a question. I ask you, our guests, to please take note of 3 questions at a time, after which you will come on the national platform to respond.
Please state your name and your institution you represent.
Thank you very much, Director. My name is Strobel Fama, and I report for Spoon.
So let me just say, even though you have one question, but if you have question for both of them, then you're allowed to take to do 2.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like I said earlier, my name is Stroke Flammer and I report for Sport FM TV. I guess this is not a witch hunt, though you didn't emphasize that. But politicians are trying to take that, this scenario or this activity all the way around. You didn't emphasize whether it is a witch hunt or not, and we know that it is not. But my question is, the former finance minister, in May of 2023, he took onto EOBC and said that they met a bloated payroll, civil service, and they were only able to bring 3,000 persons onto the payroll. Can you tell us, in this public bank, how many persons were brought onto the payroll by the CDC government from 2017, let's say 2018 to 2023? How many persons were brought onto the payroll? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Roland Eric Dole Jr. and I report for Voice of Liberia. My question is to the National Disaster Management. I want to know, the public will want to know, what are some precautionary measures put into place to make sure that such a mudslide will not reoccur?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is O'Neill Phillips. I work for the state-owned New Liberia newspaper. Thank you, Mr. Pia, for leading the question session today. And these are 3 questions, one for each of the presenters, including my boss. The first question goes to the Director General of the Civil Service Agency. Honorable Director General, when the citizen-led government came to power, it brought people and put them on the payroll. But it was a policy statement from them, from that party or the government then, that those they brought were not allowed to go through what you call the personal action notice or the pay system of government. Now those people have worked in government for 5 to 6 years. They are paid, their taxes, their due, and then you are coming now with the regular system. My question to you is there a method that you want to use to track people from civil service, or what mechanism are you using to include people on the government payroll? The second question goes to the Disaster Management Agency. You talk about the issue in river system. You have to explain it here. But in the past, whenever disaster happened, you see either the vice president, the president, will go and give some donation like you just said. But then you are seeing the Disaster Management Agency is prepared to handle the forecast like you have just said that will happen this year. Do you have the fund in your budget to do that, or is it depending on the president here on? And my last question, Minister, why is it that why is the government is so concerned about the government day delivery? When you came to government, you did not need much money, the government covered, you do not have all the hair on state doing payroll and all that stuff. Why is it so pressing the government for a government day delivery? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Ubia and I vote for excellent opportunity. My question goes to the National Disaster Management Agency. I've been listening to you mention about the projection made by the World Bank to the agency about the heavy storm that we will experience. Is there any mechanism that the Disaster Management Agency are putting in place? If yes, what are those mechanisms? Thank you.
So my name is Reagan S. Levy, a report for the Liberia News Agency. My question goes to the Disaster Management Agency. So for a couple of months now, we have seen a lot of fire incidents. We have seen, like yesterday, the day before yesterday, we experienced a heavy storm that brought a lot of people down. What mechanism do you have when it comes to awareness and stuff like that? Because most of the time in Liberia, we allow these things to happen before we talk about giving aid to them. What mechanism are you putting into place to ensure that these things are contained, most especially when it comes to fire? Thank you.
So for this first round, we just need one more question for CSA to complete 3 questions, for disaster management already got 4 questions.
Good afternoon, Chief. I'm Jefferson Tinky. I report for Leader. And thank you for you putting your guys in the field to collect statistics as it relates to the recent disaster that caused a lot of our Nigerians homeless.
So just one, I said, you already have 4 questions. You already have 4. So you only looking for a question now for CSA to correct it, please. So if you don't have a question for CSA, then just wait until when you come back.
Yes, another question for CSA. Oh, you have.
I'm Sarah James Pagana, for Liberia Corporate. My question is directed to the Minister of Information. The President previously called on his cabinet to declare their assets. Beyond the declaration aspect, is the President considering publication? If so, what will be his timeline?
Okay, so CSA can take the 2 questions. Then he can answer. All right.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Desmond Moyo, and I report for Abroad News Network. I'm being so concerned about the issues about this bloated payroll that you mentioned about. And you are not the first person to talk about this. We experienced it with the past administration. You know, every time government complains the payroll is overcrowded, you know, there's a need to streamline the payrolls. There are other people who are not qualified and giving up. Now, CSA, responsible government entity regulating the employment of Liberians on government payrolls, I'm too sure they expect that to be the way out in terms of the system. You have these people going through CSA, vetting them, getting them employed, and having them on payroll. Now, there are other regulatory systems that talks about tests. You are also aware how effective the system is, because we witnessed a recent, a lot of people were like, oh, the test is no longer unified, it's not in full function, but then they say, we talk about pain, because that is included within the pain. Before you get, regulated or you get vetted, these are all of the vetting processes you need to go through as a civil servant, or want to be a civil servant. So is that system effective when it comes to your test? I'm on board, okay, to be employed, I need to do my tutorial test. So how effective is that? Because there have been complaints about thousands of civil servants. That system, in fact, that identical aspect of the vetting process has been abandoned and ignored for all time. Tell us how effective.
Thank you so much, Desmond and O'Neill. The last 2 questions are to some extent similar, because you're talking about the stats provided by the former finance minister with regards to his quote-unquote bloated payroll claim. So the first thing I'd like to say is that he was the finance minister. He was not the director general of the Civil Service Agency. So I cannot even speak to the numbers that he talked about, because I don't know whether or not those numbers were accurate. And I don't even know what the number, none of you told me what exactly he said when he appeared on the radio, when he made a statement. He was Minister of Finance. He was not Director General of the Civil Service Agency, the entity that is mandated by law to speak to human resource and staffing matters in government. But, you know, notwithstanding, if he said the payroll was bloated at the time, when it was around 44,000 employees at the time, then how come right now we are having 67,746? That's the question. And as of before 2018, we had under 50,000. We had 44 or a little over 1,000 at the time. So I don't know what the former finance minister said the civil service strength stood at, but I won't consider that even if I knew the number, because he was not the authority to speak on that at the time. There was a civil service agency director general who was supposed to be giving the accurate stats about that. But that's what I can say to his claim about bloated payroll. So what I want to say is that the testing system you mentioned, Desmond, it was not working. And people were not being tested. The systems, the human resource management operation systems, like the employment process through the pen. That was not working. That's why today we have about 40,405 individuals who did not go through the process to use the pen, and they are not at fault. Otherwise, we would just be removing them from the payroll directly. But what we're trying to do is to encourage the spending entities to ensure that these individuals who are Liberians, who deserve jobs, go through the record procedure so that they can keep their jobs where they are qualified. Definitely, that's all we are saying. And that's why we're giving a 90 days period. This is no witch hunt. No witch hunt. And I was trying to speak to the witch hunt issue when I said this is not time for politics. Nobody is witch hunting anybody. We are only trying to apply the laws. And I know that Liberians get very uncomfortable when people apply laws. When you bring conversation about, acting in accordance with laws. I'm aware, I'm a Liberian. But that has to change. And going forward, the sector, the public service sector, we will go by the books. So those who don't have process pens, they now have a great opportunity to come to the Civil Service Agency, go through their corresponding analysts. Our analysts are categorized in a way that helps the spending entities. So for example, we group 5 spending entities. We gave you a few analysts. All those spending entities go to that analyst to deal with all their employment issues. So if we have the land authority, we have the governance commission, all of them group per set of analysts to process the pains of their employees who are affected by this. You just go to that group and they process your pain. So we are only saying these individuals should be legally on the payroll and it should be legal employees in the public service. That's all we are saying. Don't be there illegally because it has implications for you as an individual. In case we want to process your benefits, and we don't have any information for you. No personal action notice to tell us when you were employed, how you were employed, your skills set, your knowledge, your experience, your core values, and when you were employed, and then when you ended your service to merit a pension. If we don't have such data on the employee, can we process any benefit from them? The answer is a resounding no, we cannot. So we want to situate our citizens in a better position so that when it's time for retirement, time for pensioning, we can process that easily. And also we can account for them as employees in the public service, as people who are serving their own government. It's just fair enough that Liberians take politics out of this conversation, and those who are affected by this are processed appropriately so that we can have this public service that is efficient and effective. We have to do that because it's our responsibility to do that. So no witch hunt, to answer your question directly, Trokan, no witch hunt. This is strictly professional. This is strictly performing our duties as the Civil Service Agency. And O'Neill, this is not a method to drop people from the payroll. No, we're not dropping people from the payroll because we want to do it arbitrarily. But we are removing ghost names, people who have been there taking pay and then imposing financial burden on the government and making it difficult for other sectors to operate. Take, for example, the Disaster Management Agency. They have a lot that they are doing. They just told you about what it did. That requires money. Can we save money that we are paying people who are not working, who don't really exist, and move it to services such as the disaster management so that we can save our people? We have to do that. I told you about the consultancy. Let me give you a little bit of stats. In January, on January 1st, 2023, that's the last fiscal year, we had 737 consultants recruited for the period. Before they could reach to December 2023, they added additional 221 consultants. You have a total of 958 consultants. I did a case study on this whole consultancy arrangement using the CSA. I said, y'all bring me all the files of the consultants hired at CSA. They brought 18 files. I looked in those files. No valid contracts. No reports for services provided. no terms of reference. That CSA, who is responsible for centralized recruitment and management of consultants. So you should imagine what happened across the other 102 spending entities in terms of consultancy. They spent a total of $6.1 million. We lost that to a process that didn't work for us because there's no efficiency. The capacity in the public service is low, it's weak. We spent $6.1 million and we get a dividend. So now what we are saying, we are proposing under $2 million for consultancy for the next fiscal year. And we are saving a whopping $4.1 million. We are saving that so that we can move the $4.1 million to other social development sectors, to education, for our teachers, to healthcare, for our health workers, to the security sector, for our security officers who serve us. So this is professionalism. This is not politics. This is no witch hunt. And we want our civil servants to, allay their fears. We want them to be relaxed. Those in the 40,405 category, we are giving you an opportunity to come and regularize your status so you can become bona fide employees of the public service, of the government, your own government. That's the opportunity we are providing you. The only caveat is that that has to be done in 90 days. Now, if you don't do that in 90 days, then when I come here after 90 days, it will be a different story. I will be telling the Liberian people. So basically, that's what we are set up to do. Thank you.
Mr. Director, before you take your seat, sorry, journalist. How is that compared to those you call people on supplementary?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Minister. So let me tell you another thing. We have been doing a very good work with the General Auditing Commission. Minister, thank you for that question. So the General Auditing Commission is poised to conduct a historic payroll compliance audit, as the Minister has explained to you. That audit is going to allow auditors to go into the folders of personnel. We want to know how qualified you are. We want to know when you are employed and whether or not you are rightfully employed through the established legal means and processes. That is going to go on. Another thing that we are reviewing is a set of recommendations from a payroll audit that was conducted by the General Auditing Commission in 2021. In those recommendations comes the minister's answer. People who are just hanging around right now as we speak, hanging around all the spending entities, who are now on the payroll, but were paid through supplementary means, that number amounts to more than 10,000. More than 10,000. More than 10,000. Those are people who are now on the payroll, and part of that number is the number that you saw manifesting at the Ministry of State, protesting. So let me tell you how some of these supplementary payrolls were created. At one particular agency, the agency wrote a beautiful proposal in last fiscal year, asking the Ministry of Finance to provide money in more than 300,000 to do boundary harmonization. When some of the newer counties and districts were created, the physical boundary does not directly reflect what's on the paper, on the map, on the paper. So they wanted to go back to regularize that so that they can deal with some of the disputes that are coming up between counties and between districts. And that's a beautiful thing to do. But that money was received and it was turned into a supplementary, it was used to service a supplementary payroll to employ a certain group of people. When that amount phased out, now you are left with a group of people. There's no money to pay them. That's the kind of situation we are having. I'm telling you that that group of people, we got about 10,000 of them hanging around. Yeah, you just had the DDGHRM, more than 10,000. And the 2021 audit report tells us that. Now, the other news I have for you, thank you so much, Mr. Minister, I almost forgot that, is that we are now collaborating with the General Auditing Commission to design a strategy to fully implement the recommendations of the 2021 audit report. people in that category, we will address them in the implementation of the recommendation from the 2021 audit report. As far as we know, we do not have any statute or limitation preventing us from implementing those recommendations. So once the GAC and other relevant entities like the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, gave us the direction, and we will collaborate to ensure that we implement those recommendations. So Minister, I wanted to address your problem in that context. Your question rather, sorry, your question in that context. Okay, thank you.
So supplementary payroll people are not on?
No, they are not on the regular payroll. They're not on the regular payroll, and that's not, we're not even talking about the supplementary. So imagine that number, the supplementary, if it is added to the 67,746, that's more.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, I may not know you by name. I do not want you to take offense if I say one journalist. So I apologize for the circumstances beyond my control. And so the first question here is, what are some of the precautionary measures to put in place to ensure that no more slide? Well, something happened yesterday while I was with the Vice President in Jonestown. And so when I called the name of two victims, two persons that died in the mudslide, and so this only walked out for only two children who had just come up from the bush to cut down trees to plant something for them to eat. And the next time she heard about our children, they were already under the mud, they had perished. And so when I called her name and she walked out, breathing incoherently and talking occasionally to me. And of course, she stared at me and was speechless. And another one, according to Senator Gibbon Smith, while the rescue efforts were going on, another lady walked to him and said, so you mean say that the government will close the hole for us? She was not very concerned about people dying. Her concern was the livelihood of the villagers. So to answer your question, Honorable, it is difficult to seize the initiative in preventing not only mudslide. The only thing we can do right now in our reach is to make sure to do the awareness that it is dangerous to go beneath the surface of the eye, where breathing becomes a problem, where there is nobody to rescue you when there is a thought of dying. So we got to do that. And so the Honorable Senator Gibbon Smith also said something yesterday that caught our attention. He said, Honorable Vice President, we do not have anything in River Cess. Bring agriculture company that be doing something. Poverty is at the highest rate. And so this government will do everything humanly possible to mitigate this kind of thing. But to tell you that we can prevent it, no, we will make sure to do the awareness for people to know that it will go affect their life if they go beneath the surface of the earth with no earth-moving equipment that will rescue you forward. So we really stay depending on handout. As the second question said, where do we get funds? Everything happy, people run there and give some small donations. I would also, in the public manner, like to thank the Lebanese community for items delivered to us through the office of the president that make our stay in River Cess to be a good one. But I can tell you that as Executive Director and Incident Commander at the Disaster Management Agency, My responsibility is to tell you and tell the House of Representatives and Senate that there is a need, indeed there is a need, to put in more money into the National Disaster Management Agency. Look, the occurrences are clear. It's visible. The projection that we say here have surfaced. So why are you waiting for to put more money there for us? So funding should not be your issue. What the issue is now, the budget is in front of you, in front of the legislature, in front of the Senate. Put in more money for our preparedness, because disaster is preparedness. Even to do our risk vulnerability study, we have not done that. And so I can tell you with some degree of actuality that indeed we will get funds to prepare for this.
Momentarily, that's a good one.
Thank you. So somebody asked me a question that I will reluctantly answer, to say that what will be our response. We already responded to it already. I'm here already. I'm elucidating eloquently. I'm explaining to you vividly what will happen tomorrow. Isn't that awareness? So I'm responding to it. To ask me that question, and maybe making me to excruciatingly feel guilty that we are not doing our job properly. We are already giving you the awareness. We are already informing you. We are telling you what will happen in the next few days to come. Nothing else I can do without telling you that I'm putting more money to us. And so the last question is almost relating to the one I was just answering. And so I will not answer that because the term I already answered the last one.
Thank you. Thank you. So we take question for CSA, exclusively, Didi.
The reason is he has a meeting to
Yes, he has a meeting to CSA. 3 questions. Yes.
No, I'm going to ask.
Yes, Director Joker. My question goes.
What's your name, sir?
Just
You want to know your name and where you...
Okay, sir, sorry. My name is David Tagway. I work for the online radio and television network, the Liberian Radio and Television Network. Does the CSA cover the National Port Authority in terms of appointment? If it does, quite recently, there was a leaked video that has cast aspersion on the entire region. In fact, that has brought disgrace and embarrassment to some of our professional colleagues. In that leaked video, a person believed to be a journalist was asking or in a conversation with a person also believed to be the National Port Authority Managing Director. I'm being very careful because I don't know. If the CSA does cover the National Port Authority, what does the agency make of this revelation that some of our colleagues were receiving monies from the National Port Authority, although they were not employed yet? Does it claim your attention, or does it claim agency's attention? If it does, what are you doing about this?
Yes, CSA. Name is Procol Farmer, and I just want to do a follow-up. Director, thank you again for answering the questions. To do a follow-up to my question earlier asked, seditionists, supporters of the then ruling party, officials are saying that if you are very patriotic about this process and you want to be transparent as much as possible, why didn't you start from the 12 years of the Unity Party to scrutinize the entire payroll? But you are saying you are beginning from 2018, where they came to power, to 2023, when they left, they saying why you only targeting the years of the CDC to do this initiative.
My name is Samuel G. Zoe. I'm a freelance journalist after work for 7 different newspapers. I left because of overtaxation. Now, the second is interest. My brother from the CSA, a writer, I won't believe, you talk about competence. Now, what will happen if the president decides to give it to somebody who doesn't have the academic competence to employ the president and let the president do the CSA? Can you say no if the person doesn't have the academic qualification?
Stephen Roberts from Georgia. In most instances, the money when government comes to power, the money sometimes they incorporate their own partners, their own supporters, they bring them food on the table, and more often, every regime will always complain about the overcrowdedness of the payroll. I'm concerned recently, like in the case of the water and sewer, the new boss who took over complained that during the early layer administration, there were like 200 to 300 employees at the institution. Under the layer administration, they reported that over 700 employees were at the institution. We made a background check to find out as to whether it was necessary to have over 300 or 700 employees at a particular institution. And according to our report, we're being told that the 700 employees at the institution do not only cover the central Monrovia, meaning central administration in Monrovia base. I mean, they are employees that should have covered the entire country. But then you will realize that those people who should have been sent in other parts of the county do not have the necessary support to stay in those areas. Like the water and sewer operates in more than 5 counties in Liberia. And those counties are operating with water and sewer. That's the question I'm coming to say. Those counties that are operating on water and sewer do not have the necessary support to carry on the necessary functions for water and sewer. I want to know, Chief, how do you compromise that when ministry and agencies are complaining on more the overcrowding of the payroll, and when you have institutions with a number of persons that are not covering other counties only in central Monrovia? That's my question.
So, very important. Thanks so kindly for the comment. CSA boss, you will admit this that that which is very important in pen that talks about the testing aspect. You admitted that the testing is down. I want to know, you also talk about effectiveness and efficiency in government. Therefore, people occupying government payrolls should follow the ring and file. Is there any plan for the testing to be reinstated? If so, how effective and how soon do we expect that within a couple of the 90 days ultimatum you are giving those on the payroll?
Yeah, to CSA boss, my name is As we said, I report for Star TV. My question to the CSA boss, concerning your pen that you deliberate on, I want to know how many civil servants do you expect to be working in government?
So after you take that pen,
Roland Eric Dolo is my name. It's just a follow-up. Was there an amount allotted to the testing for pen opposed to CSA course? Thank you. Did you can respond to the more sense?
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. Thank you for the dispensation. I appreciate it. So I will start from the last. You asked whether or not there was funds appropriated for testing for the pen. What I will say is that the previous administration suspended testing since 2019. They suspended testing, so testing was not going on. It's part of the convoluted system that we inherited. They suspended testing because probably they had plans that were going to dump so many people on the payroll, and they didn't want to evaluate people to determine their qualification for those jobs. That's just the first thing that will come to anybody's mind. when it comes to not testing people to know their qualification. So to answer your question, they suspended that. But let me say something about the testing to just answer all the questions on testing. There was a project that was implemented, and I have reviewed the testing component of the project. We now have a very good e-testing system. Those of you who have done your driving test or driver's test, you know how you did the test on the computer. In other countries, you sit there, only you and the computer, you do the test, and automatically your result, comes up. So our testing system is going to be like that. We've set up the system already, and once we run it, we know it is very efficient. We will replicate it to all of the spending entities. They will provide a test to candidates at the level of their entities, and those who are not from those entities interested in being tested will come to the CSA to take their tests. Yes, so we've made significant progress in that direction. So talking about water and sewer, I don't want to talk about it much because it's not on us, it's not in our purview. I don't want to talk about that, but the aspect I will talk about is about the strength of the spending entity in terms of their workforce strength. We are very much aware that there are some entities whose strength is concentrated in the Monrovia or Montserrado area, just at the central office. There are those like Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Internal Affairs. Their employees are spread across the country. We are fully aware that is being taken into account in the context of this whole discussion about cleaning the payroll. We are fully aware. And all of those individuals are accounted for in this arrangement we are talking about. So they are not left out, they are part of it. We took them into consideration. So on the issue of NPA, I don't want to talk about NPA much because just like water and sewer, NPA is not in our purview to deal with, so no. But let me say this, that there is no analyst, no employee at the civil service is going to take a dime or take dime for employing people or putting people on the payroll. No, in fact, the Director General will have to review and scrutinize the payroll. The payroll is our responsibility as the civil service agency. The Ministry of Finance only allot and disperse. That is their role by law. So for the payroll is CSA, and people who get on the payroll, that's why we're trying to regularize those who are on the payroll, regularize the status of those who are on the payroll, who statuses are not regularized or are not in keeping with established laws and norms. When you talk about seditions, are saying why we did not start this query from 2012. You know that they implemented something called party mandate, and by then let me give an example. I like to be personal here. I was executive director at the National Commission on Small Arms, and I remember I received 2 different communications from the chairman of the party. First, he sent me the list of 25 individuals that I must employ. That was just the instruction. And I wrote by saying that I cannot employ. I don't have the authority to do that. Please refer to CSA to do that. The second list I received was 30 names that I should employ. And those 30 people accompanied that communication. All of them came to deliver that one letter, the 30 people that I was supposed to be employing as executive director at the National Commission on Small Arms. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not employing because I don't employ. So you guys go to civil service. These are our citizens. If they are qualified, the civil service will evaluate them, they will employ them, and we give them job security and give them the rightful benefits under the laws. So I refer them. I'm telling you that story because that was the story across the entire government. There was people who were employed directly on party mandate, and then came the harmonization process, cut people's salary and push the money to additional people to be employed in government. That's what happened. Reduced people's salary and brought people on board, and they increased the number of employees in the civil service. That's why today we are left with 67,746 on the regular payroll. On the consultancy payroll, we were left with 958. That consultancy payroll, we're going to slice it significantly so that we bring professional people, because as consultants, you must be people who are experienced and experts in your area to bring about difference in capacity enhancement, in the efficiency of the institution that you provide services for. We will ensure that that is done. So I just want to The last question. Do I ask whether or not the president will ask me to appoint people? The first thing I would say, not this president. This president is not going to ask me to appoint people. Then second, the president has his right to appoint people in keeping with laws. Those people are senior government officials provided by law. The civil service, it is my role to lead the civil service agency to employ people within the civil service. The president does not interfere with that. This is law you are talking about. The president respects that. His Excellency President Wakai definitely won't do that. And my role is to ensure that the right people are employed in our civil service. Thank you very much. Let me use
Mr. DJ, before you say thank you, sorry that I'm joining you today as one of the journalists. So based on David's question, apparently there is not proper understanding as to what constitutes the workforce in the public sector, who is just a public sector worker and who is a civil servant. It's an opportunity for you to tell the Liberian people who is a civil servant, who is in the public sector but not a civil servant, because from your answer, those at MPA, all these places are public sector workers, but they're not civil servants. Can you get that?
Yeah, that is correct. State-owned enterprises. You have citizens working at those entities, but they are not under the purview of the civil service agency, and the NPA happens to be one. By addressing the issue of who are civil servants, these are people that form the central administration of all the entities that fall under us. Say like the national legislature, for example. Those are people who, lawmakers are people elected, right? But the people who serve them in central administration, they are all under the civil service. So here, there are appointed officials at the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism. Those appointed officials are not civil servants. Those in the central administration of the ministry are civil servants. These are the category of people we are talking about, and that delineates between the appointees and the civil servants. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate this. We will always engage. And thanks to the leadership of the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism for the opportunity.
So let me just see the director or continue the question from the camera.
So, just a few questions, please, for the queue. Disaster Management Agency, please, for the queue.
Good afternoon, Chief. I'm Deputy General of Self-Defense. I thank you for putting your eyes on the future policy of the leaders that has been affected by recent wind that blew volumes away. And now, Liberians are impatient, so Vodafone said the issue by the movement of administration. When I come into work, I saw people in the street, homeless people. Are you care to tell us what's the plan? In the nutshell, what's the plan do you have for those people that are homeless before you one morning you wake up and see hundreds of Liberians in the street? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So my name is George Momo, and I report from STV Nigeria. The last press conference during your appearance here, I spoke of the issue of data collection, which is key to disaster response. And also, time is very important. Less than a week, we are being hit by this projection that you spoke of outside of Maserati. Now, time is of essence in disaster response. Today, you dispatch data officers. And I'm concerned about the essence of time because leaving HQ going to the nearby counties, it requires community interest in all of the bureaucracy. I told you about the breakdown of disaster data collect offices across the country. So my question is,
what are you doing to bring back the disaster data clear offices across the county so that issue of such we can have data reaching HQ timely? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Science and report from the DFM. My question is also the minister, but since the minister is not getting yeah, the minister of information is the co-chair for LPS, and there's some information that is reaching our desk, especially within the media, that there is a full battle between the appointees that was made by President Ouattara and Director Falcon is refusing to work with them. And we saw the same issue with the National Bureau of Concession and the Liberia Legislative Corporation. So can you
what happened on the National Bureau of Concession?
yeah, the deputies and the
in his administration?
yeah. So and the LEC, Mr. Captain, who is serving as the CEO, the information that was gathered from our reportage was that he's refusing to work with the nominee that was sent by the president.
Councilman, please give chance to others to ask their questions.
Thank you so much. My name is Jason. I vote for Radio John Africa in my Micat for EPA. Chief, we know that the issues of disasters in this country is a huge thing in this country. Now,
the police asking questions.
15 counties, and we follow where disasters in the rainy season. We just saw some yesterday in other windstorms. Do you have the necessary manpower across the 15 counties to carry on the awareness, remind our people in regard to the incoming disasters at the rainy season time, flood is coming, the wind is coming? Do you have the necessary manpower across the country to carry on the awareness?
For the disaster management agency, people who are into illicit management, I'm somewhat G-Dwell. My sister, Diego, I'm freelance right now. So what happened is I was in my county grand crew in 2016, and there were some, the information I got, there were some lawmakers and county authority members who were into some business partnership with the because and minors. Are you engaging legislators of each of the counties, especially for Riverside County that have been victimized?
Thank you. That's the final question for today.
So, little did I know that when I was here to answer the first question, set of questions, the last question was intertwined with fire disaster. And so I would like to make a small comment on that before we start into the set of questions. And so the National Disaster Management Agency through the UNDP through the EPA have seconded funding to the National Disaster Management Agency to do the fire prevention checklist. As a matter of fact, our personnel were at the fire service today working on the fire prevention checklist. It will be launched and we will present it to the public. And what the checklist will be, the consultant will tell us. But after all, I'm also not the director for fire service to see how fire is being prevented. We are at the end when there is a disaster, being human hazard, fire, flooding, the people affected and where we go to help. So, Mr. Jefferson asked, what are our plans for those that are homeless? Well, funding is our plan. We need money. Even if I see people perambulating the streets homeless, I wouldn't do anything without money. So, but we have the mechanism we have the plan, we have the way power, we have the personnel to take care of these things. So in our 2024 budget, we have allocated everything to make sure that homeless people affected by human-induced hazard or natural phenomenon will be taken care of in accordance with our own statutory responsibility. So data clerk, you know, the act that created the National Disaster Management Agency is modeled after the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And so our personnel should be even at the village. We should be in the town. We should have data clerk across the country. But how can you have a data clerk across the country without corresponding financial inducement to that data clerk? We cannot train, we have a lot of trained people, but we cannot send people across the country without financial benefit. And this is why we continue to cry, and we'll cry with a louder voice, that this is an agency that is responsible for everything, especially the early warning system, right? In the early warning system, people have to be employed. We have to go through every time prior town chiefs, problem chiefs, and what have you. Data clerk will have to be in the town. So what I'm telling you now, maybe you can be hired at one of our data clerks because you have very much interest in it. For the last time I've been here, always asking for data clerk. So our offices are very open for that. Maybe you have some expertise in it. We will encourage you to tell us what you can do for us. We will also encourage you as a journalist to properly advocate for us so that we have more money to hire a data clerk. Well, we have manpower, trained and responsible manpower to man all of our counties, especially the 5 regions that we have. But we also boil down to financial. But what I can tell you is that there is a new dawn. Since the creation of the agency, we have not reached our maximum potential. And so we are gradually moving towards that. We are moving towards it, not a snail-like movement, not a chameleon-like movement. We are moving towards it like a magnet. And so very soon, our personnel will be all across the country. You can see my evidence on the kind of jacket I wear. And behind it, you see incident commander. And so we are commanding every disaster-related activity across the country. Our men are there. We are working through proxy and to give our early warning until we can get a budgetary allocation. Well, the last question is whether we are engaging legislative or the legislature on the issues of illicit mining. Of course. But if you heard Senator Gibbon Simmons telling others, a lady telling him, will you close the hole? So what government will do for us when they close hole? So you can know that he wants to do something, but he's helpless. And so we're engaging them to see how we can formulate together, plan together, how we can discourage our people from doing illicit mining that will be dangerous to their own health, dangerous to their livelihood, dangerous to the community. Liberia. What I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen of this honorable body, honorable minister, that the National Disaster Management Agency, with its current leadership, will do everything humanly possible to bring the disaster issue to equilibrium. Thank you.
So earlier, one of you asked, no money, no budget. why are we concerned about 100-day deliverables? When you take over the country to govern, money or no money, you got to govern. It is conventionally accepted that the first 100 days of any administration is a pace-setting period. It is that period that will show indications as to whether you prepare to govern or not. So whether it's in Europe, whether it's in America, wherever it is, the first 100 days of any administration is very critical. And that's why we're paying attention. At the end, when we do the evaluation, we will say to ourselves whether we've laid the foundation for the rest of the period, covering the 6 years. And in fact, that's one reason why we're already planning a retreat. I did say during my initial comments that we're planning a retreat. When we release the results of the first 100 days, we will go for a retreat. We'll do a self-assessment of where we are and what we've done, and then we formulate a way forward for the rest of the period. Somebody asked another question earlier about asset declaration. And the president said, "Put you declare." I said, "You wanted to know whether they would declare in public? Read the law. You are generally, the law says declare your asset. There's no law that compels anybody to publish. Personally, for me, I can speak for myself. I would declare and publish. But I cannot say similarly for everybody else because they are not. It's not compelling by law that they should publish their asset, but they ought to declare their assets. So that's my question to that. And then I'm told in my absence someone talking about ELBC. Have you heard anything like the president withdrawing nomination for ELBC? So I cannot respond to something that is unofficial. Whether there's woolly battle at LBS, according to what I've heard, the question is, I wouldn't know. Nobody has brought to my attention that there's woolly battle. I know that the president made some appointments at LBS, including the Director General Elliott and some deputies. The Minister of Information, I'm the chair of the board. I'm working along with the Director General to constitute a board for it, because one man does not make a board. And I'm sure by next week we'll announce the board of LBS and some outstanding appointments in the communication area, including here at the Minister of Information. So I can't say whether there's any battle at LBS.